Let me know when can I call to order? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the regular Board of Ed meeting to order February 8th, 6:35. Looks like Jamie left the Caribbean. All right, so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. And do we have any public comment this evening? Not seeing. Do we have any public comment on our line? Nope, not seeing any. We're going to go ahead and move into approve the minutes.
Actually, can I make a motion to add policy review? I don't believe it's on here, correct?
Oh, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to add consideration on
7B.
as 7B. Okay, to add as 7B, consideration of policies 5141.8, 4118.237, 5145.511, 5144.4, 5145.53, and 6140.
Okay, there's a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed and abstain. That was 7B, Irma. Who seconded? Alex seconded. All right, and we need to move into the minutes, starting with December 14th.
I'll make a motion to approve the approval of minutes of December 14th, 2022.
I second.
All right. Any discussion on those?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't there at that meeting.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstain. Can you see Jamie for the voting?
Aye.
Thanks, Jamie.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2023.
I second.
Discussion?
Yes, I wanted to amend the last part, the very last sentence. I did not say, well, I may have said, I would hope that we wouldn't appear divisive, but what I did say was I too represent the entire community. I would like that amended and added.
So add that I too represent the entire community.
Yes.
Okay. Did you get that, Irma? All right. Can we get amended motion, please?
I'll amend the motion to include the additional words.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstain?
And make a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th, 2023.
I second.
Discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstain. Okay. John Anderson's with us tonight for the Student Ambassadors Report.
Hi. So for the Wheeler High School, we have on March 10th, there's PD planning is going to start, which is where admin will be bringing in Maureen Seigler to work with the staff on introductional practices that makes the classrooms inclusive for all. And middle school and high school teachers are currently working on updating their curriculum into Google to put on the new website. This will allow it to update live to the website when teachers make changes. Program supervisors and admin are currently working to support this. Wheeler also just inducted students into the North Stonington chapter of NHS. We will be celebrating the new inductees at Lake of Isles in March. This week, Wheeler also hosted Diversity Council student athletes and teachers to help plan the workshop they are running at the CAS Administrators Retreat on March 17th. I have a packet right here that kind of highlights that retreat. If you guys could pass it around, please. The purpose is to help other administrators encourage inclusivity amongst all students. The ECC Diversity Council will share the actionable steps they took to support the venues in the ECC and make them safe and inclusive to all. And for the North Stonington Elementary School, the 6th grade has started the DARE program with the motto of keeping it real, real being an acronym for refuse, explain, avoid, and leave. This week was the school-wide spelling bee, and the winner, Corey Welch, will be going to states in March. And then this Friday is the 100th school day. So the kids will be celebrating that with different 100 themed activities. The motto for this is 100 Days Smarter. February 16th is the Invention Convention, where 14 students will be showing off the inventions they created this year to Miss Servideo. February 22nd is Bus Driver Appreciation Day. February 17th, there is a Big Lux assembly for the elementary, middle, and high school, where a violinist will be playing for them. Yesterday, there was a full staff meeting where they reworked their vision of who we are as a school and who we want to be at the elementary school. There is an ELA committee meeting on the 13th where they understand the UBD curriculum model, look at the end goal and the ideal vision of a graduate, and work back from there. The drama play production of Willy Wonka is being performed on March 24th and 25th. And then kindergarten registration was moved to April 19th. As well, and that's it.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for John?
February 16th, you said was the invention convention?
February.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Mr. Hopkins?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you, John, for that great report. As I was listening to it, I was thinking innovation. That's innovation right there. And there's another example of innovative instruction. And so thank you for doing that. I think it's really, we should be proud of what's already happening in the schools. So, thank you for reporting on that, John. The only thing that I really want to say in my report is that you have a manila folder that was handed out to you. And in a previous meeting, the last one we discussed, the need for a curriculum structure. And you'll see a one-page document that describes the organizational chart for getting curriculum done. It does have that curriculum coordinator position in there that we were proposing for $15,000 that you'll hear more about when we present the budget. And there's also a curriculum timeline and plan for how to focus on different subjects at different times and different phases of curriculum. And there are some like researching, before you write, that kind of thing, and then implementing and all of that. So these are all draft, but the schools have a plan. The district has a plan. And I think you asking for it. So here you go. And I think at the next meeting, we could discuss it in more detail. We could put it on the agenda if you like, and we could discuss it in more detail and you can ask some questions. So the rest of my report will simply be the budget presentation later on the agenda.
Thank you. Can I ask one quick question on this?
Sure.
All right. When we're looking at the chart, when there's implementation, is there any new curriculum that the board needs to be approving or anything like that at this point?
Hey, can you come up to the microphone?
Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just,
You may have to turn it on. You may have to turn it on.
Okay, hello, is that working? All right, so you're looking at our 5-year curriculum plan that we started back in 2014. You're actually seeing round 2 of that, and it's broken out. We don't have everybody working at the same time. They're in different phases. As we add new classes to the curriculum, the departments, wherever they fall in the cycle, will eventually add that curriculum to their work in progress. So any new class that's added, like we added a Shakespeare class 2 years ago. Mary Beth is actually working on that now to make it a part. English had already done theirs, and they're going back through round 2. So you'll see it as they add it.
Okay.
The other big change I just want to say is we're putting it in Google, and that's taking a little bit of time. The reason we're doing that is so that as we make changes moving forward, we don't have to keep sending it to somebody to load to the website. It will automatically show the changes that we're making current live time. So people will know what they're looking at is the existing up-to-date document.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I spoke with Bob Carlson and I talked to Christine Diaz yesterday about the STEEP grant and where we are with that. The town is in the process of putting together our RFP for that and going out to bid. We talked about either using the state approved or going out to bid, and because of our purchasing policy, and just doing the right thing with our project, we thought we would go out to bid on that. So she's in the process of putting that together. Our audit presentation for year end is going to be on February 15th. Just a couple of things that came up out of that they'll discuss. We do need to put together a policy and procedures manual that's done at the central office. The board doesn't have anything to do with that. That's an internal, and that's came up on the town side as well. And having something like that would have been super helpful when we went through the transition that we did at the central office. So it's going to be really important that they have that available moving forward. And then just working consistently to get monthly reports to the town for reconciliations. The town and the board, school are working together on that and communicating really well with that. So that's been really nice to see. The CABE webinar is on communications and superintendent evaluations tomorrow. Steph, you signed up for that, and my schedule changed, so I'm actually going to be attending that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. As far as the super evals, Troy, if it's okay with you, we're going to not do executive session tonight on that. Alex and I talked about it a little bit, and we think what we will do is take your guys' feedback informally. You can send me an email, and then Alex and I will kind of put all of that together and sit with Troy. We'll determine a time to do that, especially because it's his first year. I think it's important kind of mid-year that we have something a little more formalized than just a roundtable discussion. So if you guys have any thoughts, comments, things you'd like us to discuss, please just send me an email on that, okay? And then also the superintendent evaluation is going to be on that webinar tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of things they touch on with that as well. There's the governor just came out with a grant on safety. So I did reach out to Troy on that. He's already got it on his radar, and that might be something where we're looking at some of those things that came up in our safety review that maybe we could get grant funded. So we will take a look at that. I do have policy 5118. I would like us to review at the next meeting, and Troy and I are working on the language on that. We need to shore up a couple of things in that. A few things have come to light as far as how that was interpreted under the last superintendent, and we want to make sure that we're and the language in that is a little bit all over the place. So we're just going to clean it up according to the CABE model, and then we'll bring that one forward. Okay. Aunt Irma's been working with CABE on deletion of those 177. She's been really on top of them on getting that done. So we're moving forward through that audit. And then I gave everybody some information. There's a House Bill 5283 coming forward, and it's based around the educational cost sharing formulas. If we could get this new bill through, it shows you what the impact to North Stonington would be. By 2025 in the fiscal year, it could be another $112,000 impact for ECS money for our town. So it's a much better implementation of the cost sharing. And so I'm really encouraging that we push for that. Ellington put together a really nice letter for that. So I'm hoping, I've reached out to her to see if it would be okay if we formulate it to fit North Stonington and signed off on a letter to the House as well. So if you get a chance, pull that bill up. The impact to us isn't significant, but it is still a positive impact. So any more money we can get would be better. And that's all I have right now for my report. Does anybody have any questions for me?
What was policy 5118 on?
That is on, it's the policy that talks about non-resident students. And how we look at residency, what's considered residency. We had made a decision back in 2019 to change some of the language around kids coming to the school that like teachers' children, and grandfathering some of that in. And there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding of what our interpretation was versus what the prior superintendent's interpretation was. So we want to discuss that a little bit further when we get a little more information and shore that up a little bit so it's very clear. Okay. And if you read it too, it's very paragraphs are like, I don't know. I don't know. We just focused on that one paragraph, I think, in 2019. So we didn't look at. So I've got the CABE model. I've got it all chopped up. We'll get it rewritten and then we'll bring it forward to you guys. Let's see. And then that takes us up to committee chairs.
So committee one met last Wednesday. That's the one that is talking about safe, valued, and sense of belonging as one of our goals that we're looking to achieve. We spent the majority of the meeting actually discussing the bullying prevention policy that's going to come up on the agenda later, that after further review may actually end up in an entirely different direction. So we're going to, we discussed it pretty extensively in terms of the ideas of what bullying does to affect safety and the feeling of safety and value and a sense of belonging within the school system, and how important it is for us to make sure that our policy matches our goal and is strongly worded in such a way that our students feel safe. So we did not schedule a new meeting just coming into March. We thought that it might be better to hold off, handle our budget situation, and then look to the beginning of April. There was also some discussion of making the second meeting of the month a workshop again, and having goals 1, 2, and 3 alternate and work through things that we need to do in that time period, as opposed to having so many things scheduled. So
Jamie, did you want to come on for?
Sure. Can you hear me all? Okay. Okay. So we just had a lot of discussion about the policies. So we really wanted to highlight some of the policies that we already think embody the innovative instruction. So what really the other idea that we kind of came up with is we really want to communicate this to the public and have it on our website to really highlight our goals. So we're going to work together to kind of come up with a way that we can say, here's for goal 2, here's the policy that reflects that, and where you can kind of get it in the handbook. So thank you, Christine, for sending over some of the updated language on some of the other policies. And I'm going to work with Troy to take just a few overarching policies that we have and see where maybe we can integrate the innovative instruction in that way. Other than that, I think that was about it. Those were the biggest accomplishments. We also didn't schedule a meeting. We're going to wait till after the budget, but we're going to kind of keep working on this as it goes.
Thank you. Steph, I know you didn't meet, but I think you're on for February 22nd. Is that correct?
We are. Our next meeting is February 22nd at 5:30. And I think we'll probably be evaluating sort of where we are in the budget process and what we need to do to get the word out.
Okay.
I'm hoping that by then we'll know with more clarity what some of the issues are that we need to do a better job communicating.
Okay. So a couple of things. One thing we will want to do is put a finance committee meeting together after we get the stuff tonight on the budget. Do you want to try to schedule that at the end of the meeting, Alex? When should we maybe look to schedule that? I'm wondering if we should maybe look to do it maybe even like the Tuesday before our board meeting, or does that work for you, the 21st? Because the communication committee is going to be on the 22nd. For the 21st, okay.
The 21st is President's Day.
That's a Tuesday.
Oh, it's part of the break. Oh. Okay.
That's okay. We can meet over here. That's fine. I think I'll check with Christine and make sure it works. The other things I know, we talked about Facebook Live for tomorrow. Yeah, so part of and we are happy to do that. I think what we should do is wait until the board has their discussion about the budget, but also I don't know how to do Facebook Live. So do you?
Kind of do, right, Norma?
Okay. Right.
You guys sound so confident.
I know.
You really do.
All right, so we
We're
can
real risk
figure it out,
takers.
right?
Innovative.
Very innovative, right? So we are happy to do it. We just got to make sure that we know how to do it. And I think Christine Diaz knows how to do it too, because we did it a little while back. So we'll figure that out, but I'm thinking after the 22nd, if that's okay. Okay. I don't want you to think we're blowing it off. We're okay. And we need to look at December's financials.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials for December 2022.
I'll second that.
We're approving. Did I say accepting?
No, you should approve.
No,
Oh,
Are
we're
we accepting?
accepting. We're
Yeah,
accepting.
we're accepting
my-
January.
So-
Oh, okay.
Oh, are we gonna talk about? Are we gonna second that or?
Yeah, did somebody second accepting December's financials?
I second it.
Okay, discussion on that?
I'll just make comment that a lot of the questions we had were answered or responded to in the last meeting, so nothing new.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting December's financials?
Hi.
Abstain. Okay. And that brings us up, Bill is presenting January.
January was not too much activity. Everything is going along according to plan. We're still trending. If you look at the percentages are where they're supposed to be. An example, teachers have 57% of their pay left, and our report shows that 56.5 of their pay is still available. So things like that are going along. Electricity is at 52%. We're halfway through the year. These expenses are really through December, a lot of these monthly expenses. Some good news is we got the gas bill today for the high school, and it was 2,500 cubic feet less than last year. So that's quite a bit because, as we all know, January was very warm. We do not get the electric bill for the high school until the 12th of the month. And we know that the rates went up in January, so I still can't really report out on exactly. We're not on the same rate structure as residential. We're on a peak and off-peak large volume rate. So that's really currently the only really large outstanding item that might affect the current year's budget. Everything else seems to be falling in place as we have predicted or expecting. So, but we will know that, fairly soon. So I did do a little research because we have solar panels, and you can't tell how the solar panels are affecting our budget. Like what savings are we getting from those solar panels? Because obviously nothing is easy. The billing doesn't line up. The solar panel billing doesn't line up with the Eversource billing. So after dealing with Eversource bureaucracy, and calling our solar people. Currently, the elementary school is not paying for any supply. We're paying for delivery because they still have to be able to deliver electricity, but the supply part of the bill is being covered by the solar panels. And actually, we are building a credit at the elementary school because we're producing more solar energy than we're using. Because what complicated, how it works is the solar energy goes directly into the school. And then if there's not enough solar, then we draw from Eversource. So the solar panels don't go out to Eversource and comes back. We use it directly. So that's why it's a little bit hard to figure out. So on the high school, I finally found some old bills, and we were using 60,000 kilowatts, 50 to 60,000 kilowatts, depending on the time of the year, a month. Now we're only being billed for half of that. So the solar panels are working, and the investment that was made is really working out. So for the solar panels, we're paying 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's really to pay for the lease. Eversource currently, the high school, paying 14 cents and 12 cents, peak and off peak. So there's a lot of savings there. So the investment in the solar panels is really paying off for the district. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it's probably been a long time since you talked about solar panels. And the next thing, now that we have finished at least the first round of the budget this month, by the end of this month, we will start working on forecasting through the end of the year. I think you've asked for that, but obviously the administration and myself, we were all working on the budget. Now, by the end of February, once we know what the electric rate is, we really should be able to forecast at the end of the year and see where we're going to stand and whether we'll have some extra funds or not. And then the only other thing is that things are working on when we purchased Infinite Visions, we got the core modules and the core system, and Irma and I now are looking into and working on maybe some enhancements to some of the modules that we have. It turns out some of the stuff is it's there, but you really wanted to use, well, you got to pay a little extra. Typical, but now that we've used it for the 6 months that we've been here, we know where the shortcomings are, and we're looking again to improve that. And really it has to do with being able to report efficiently and have better reporting, better budgeting, better human resources. Right now, it's still a little cumbersome for us, and we're finding out that there are more efficient ways, and we're looking into that. So we're continuing to upgrade, as far as the efficiency, the software. We're upgrading the cafeteria software. Currently, it's on one person can use it. You have to be at the school to use it. It's on our own server. And now we're going to be upgrading to a cloud-based. Multiple people can be on it, and we can get better reporting, and it will talk to Power School, which is important, so we can keep better track of the students who receive free and reduced lunch. Obviously, during the pandemic, it wasn't an issue because everybody was getting free lunch, but now it's that's an issue again, so we really have to get back on top of that. And the field study should be beginning soon unless we have a blizzard and they can't get to the fields. So that's the report. Again, if you look at the numbers and stuff, everything is really lining up as it should be. And again, we'll start projecting out next month.
Couple of quick questions. So this is really January, right? Because I
Right.
think you said December, and I just wanted to get clear in my mind that
No, you said Jen.
So it's January's numbers, but on this report, the electric bill for January, we haven't gotten yet.
okay, so it's a January report, but some of the numbers may still be from
This,
December. or whatever.
anything that's billed monthly is through December.
Gotcha.
So that would be the bus. We just got the bus bill for January. The electric bill, and like I said, I just got the gas bill. So really, the payroll is current. But a lot of the monthly expenses are always like a month behind.
And then were you gonna add a kind of an anticipated column? I think we talked about adding
Right.
something to.
Yeah, that's going to be for next month's report.
Next one's okay.
We'll have that.
Yeah.
It's a projection,
That's the forecasting you were talking
Yeah.
about, right? Okay.
because we have to want to make sure that the administrators review if they're going to need any more supplies or anything, before the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay, and last question, I seem to remember the town was involved somehow with the solar panels as far as. Because they had all the records, so I don't know if they were making the payments. Are we making payments at all for the rental or what do you? I was
So,
trying to understand that process again.
so we have 3 arrays, one on the elementary school and 2 on the high school. So we get 3 bills. And we pay 4 cents for the kilowatt hours that are generated by the solar panels to a company. And I think that company, really what we're doing is we're paying the lease. And that's how they bill us for the lease. How much it generates times 4 cents. So it's only a few $100s a month for each one. It's for each array.
And Alex, I think you're right, though. I don't think we ever agreed to lease on that. We were kind of told we would never be
Right.
responsible for
That's-
any charge for those solar panels. So I'll look into that. We never signed a lease. We weren't given any option on the solar. I'm really excited to hear we're saving money because Bill, we've been asking for a very long time about the impact and never have been able to get any kind of response. So I really can't tell you how much I appreciate the work you've done on that. Yeah.
I took
Yeah. Oh God. Well, I just can't tell you with that how much that impact is for us to be able to tell that story and understand the impact. But I do want to check on the leasing because the Board of Ed never signed a lease for solar panels. I'm glad that we're seeing some savings, but I just would like to see how that lease came about. Right. No, I think so. Yeah. No, I can hear, they can't hear? Oh. Oh my gosh, we should bring like 40 batteries with us.
at the whole.
There we go. That was better. So, yeah, I'll look into that lease
Yeah,
thing
I was
though.
gonna say, I know the lease.
Well, and I just don't ever remember us being, we were gonna have to pay any lease, but. Okay.
Well, we need to holistically understand.
All right.
Right.
Thing because it may sound good, but. wanna make-
So I'll get the, so I didn't realize you were in that same situation. So I'll get a little more information of how much, give you some real numbers,
Sure.
how much we're paying to Clean Focus for the lease, how much it's generating. And
Okay.
so you just have a better idea.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the work you've done on that already, though. And I'm excited too to hear that you're looking at the forecasting as being real numbers by not waiting until February to look at it. Usually it was just taking what was left in the budget and saying that's what's anticipated, where I think you're actually doing a drill down on it. So again, appreciate all of the work you guys are doing. It's showing and it's making a difference. So thank you.
We have a mic here now at the table.
All right. Testing, testing. No? Testing. Now it's on. Not loud though.
Okay. Yeah, they'll. But it goes on. No, it's still working. This one's still working.
I'll use this one then. And the administrators can use that one over there. And we'll be good. Yeah, I need to be on camera because I comb my hair. Okay, how's that? That's better, right? Okay. So here we go. Before I get started on this budget presentation, I want to thank my central office staff, Bill and Irma, and the administrators, and actually the teachers as well, who this budget process starts with, where they say what they need to teach the kids. And it's really built from the ground up, from zero up, okay, zero-based budgeting. So we do have backups for everything that we're going to present to you tonight. I think it truly is a teamwork effort here. And regarding teamwork, I think the theme in this budget is really collaboration with the town. And you'll see specific items that we'll talk about tonight that are really good collaboration with the town, which have a budget impact. So could we go to that next slide, and if you don't mind just advancing that for me as we go through. So as you know, we have a purpose for everything we do, and that purpose is defined through the vision of a graduate for North Stonington Public Schools. And this is just a reminder about what the vision and mission are, and some of the things that we're really trying to get the kids to develop in their academic skills of analysis, collaboration, literacy, and communication. And then we also have the civic and social expectations, which are resiliency, respect, and responsibility. These are really important to have It provides a focus for everything we do. Next slide, please. So there's much to be proud of about North Stonington schools. These are just a few of the more recent initiatives and accomplishments. As you know, the whole staff, including paraprofessionals, were trained in restorative practices this year. A lot of that's happening. Basically, that helps kids to understand the impact of their actions, and also helps develop empathy and teamwork, and that just sense of community in the school. So it is innovative. Okay, it's cutting edge. It's like what we're supposed to be doing with kids in schools. Many other things you can see here. There's a new special education program that was quite cumbersome to do. A ton of hours went into that with our staff to learn that. And there's so many other things. I'm not going to list everything. I'm not going to talk about everything, but you could just see here, and you have it in your handout. By the way, you have two handouts for the budget. One is this presentation, and one is we call the narrative, which it kind of describes in words some of this. Also, some of what you see here is also in that narrative. And if if you're impatient and you can't wait, you could flip to the end of the narrative document to see some numbers. But I'm gonna challenge you to have self-control and hold off. I'm tempting you. And part of self-control is being tempted and resisting. So I want you to hold off on that, please. But what we're going to present is, I believe, a real bargain to the town. Believe it or not. So just have that in mind. Many other things on here, right? Including the last item, seeking district accreditation from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. We just today had a meeting in this room with the administrators and some teacher leaders from both buildings. And we had the person in charge of the Commission on Public Schools, NEASC, on the screen. She's also our liaison now, Allison Geary, and she was talking to us about district accreditation. So we're actively pursuing that. And it's just the work that good schools do anyway. Next slide, please. Just wanted to point out that we are going to be comparing ourselves to a few other districts throughout this presentation for a couple different reasons. And this reason is to look at test scores and be proud of the fact that we have really high test scores and have had historically here. The ELA, the math, the science scores are higher than these other towns of Bolton, Thomaston, and Westbrook. Why do we pick them? Because they're similar in enrollment. Similar enrollment, pre-K through grade 12 districts. There's not too many districts similar in enrollment in the state of Connecticut to North Stonington that are pre-K through 12. There are some that are like pre-K through 8. We don't want to compare to them. Okay, so we're comparing to these. Really great. We're doing a really good job. The physical fitness score is not so much. Okay, it is a dramatic contrast. Okay, so we address that in this budget. So let's go to the next slide. As you know, you adopted these goals on October 27th, 2022. They're 3-year goals. We want everybody to feel safe, valued, and a sense of belonging. We want innovative instruction that empowers every learner, whether they're student or adult that works here. And we want to be transparent and efficient in our processes. Okay, we've been working on these things. You just heard Bill talk about infinite visions and what we're trying to do with it to be even more efficient. Okay, so there's many different areas. Everybody has every piece of this goal. And you just go to the next slide for a moment. And because I want to point out to you that these goals are embedded in the budget that we're presenting. Okay, this budget, if you support it, right? Budget and policy, you guys doing a great job on policy work, policy, budget, advocacy. That's your role, right? This budget will support your goals. these goals, all right, and support the vision of the graduate. So remember, they're 3-year goals. It takes some time in planning, but we will be gaining ground and I think tempo even as we gain traction. All right, next one, please. Just wanted to point out that there are actually many benefits to district accreditation, including the fact that we're going to have vertical articulation of curriculum through all the grades. Okay, it's going to be a logical flow of learning from pre-K to 12. Okay, we'll have a plan in having our team, our district teams work together will ensure that. And that is the curriculum document that was handed out to you in the manila folder earlier, very related to this. This is innovative instruction goal. When we say in that goal, it says document. When we say document, we're talking about curriculum writing, right? And the evidence will be in the curriculum documents, part of it that we're innovating in our instruction, right? So that's really important. There's other things like it saves, actually saves time and money by combining the two schools. And the teams now, the visiting teams, it used to be like 12, 14 people. They're like 6 to 8 now, right? So it's way more affordable and actually a better value. So just wanted to point that out to you that there are many benefits of district accreditation. I'm going to stop for right now, and I'm going to ask the administrators to talk a little bit about their particular schools and areas. So next slide.
Thank you. All right, so I think we're all aware of how awesome our schools are here, and I know Ms. St. Germain, Mrs. Reyes, and Ms. Mullane would agree with me on that. You know, the great test scores that we get to see, they're a result of the fabulous teachers and the paraprofessionals that we have that are working in the buildings every day. It's about students taking ownership for their learning, and it's about having buy-in from the families and supporting everything that we do. So we're appreciative of all that we're able to accomplish. I just have some photos up here of some of the great innovative things going on. We have some students who are working on building an igloo for our STEAM week using various materials. We have other students who are part of an EB program, and they're doing some welding using crackers and cheese whiz. And we also have some of our high school science students from Mrs. Wellborn's class who came and visited one of our wonderful kindergarten classrooms, Mrs. Tardif. I think they went to all kindergarten classrooms too. And they were working on building circuits. So there's some real innovative, fun things going on, as there should be at an elementary school. Just to talk briefly about budget increases. So one of the increases that you'll see on our budget is in mathematics. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to pilot the Desmos Illustrative Mathematics program. This is an innovative approach. Desmos is a computer-based program, but it's not solely computer-based. There are pencil and paper things with it. But the IM program really it's a really shift from the standard, you know, teacher does, then we do as a class, and then I go do on my own. To now it's I do on my own. We get together as a group, as a class, and we talk about what we're doing and what you're thinking, what I'm thinking, and then the teacher kind of ties it all together. So it's a very innovative approach, and it's getting some really great results. You'll hear that the middle school is doing this, I believe, 7 through 9. Yes, 7 and 8. All right. And so we think it would make sense for our 6th graders to get on board with this. So it would better prepare them for the middle school. And this would also allow us to, in the future, in the very near future, to add an accelerated mathematics program in 6th grade. This would allow students who are targeted to take geometry in 8th grade. You guys do, right? Geometry. They would be able to do the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade curriculum over 2 years, as opposed to having to do 7th and 8th grade curriculum within 1 year. So it's just, we're again, like Mr. Hopkins mentioned about that alignment, we're trying to be all aligned as best as we can. So this was, we thought was a kind of a no-brainer. You'll see an increase in our instructional supplies. This is just basically our basic supplies that we use to run the building on a year to year. This typically is something that usually gets cut, but this is our pencils, our paper, our crayons, our, you know, scissors, glue sticks, all that good stuff. And for us, we feel this is an efficient way to do our business because it allows teachers to not have to worry about doing these orderings. If they need glue sticks, they know they can go see Ms. Gonzalez in the office and she's going to hand them the glue sticks that we need. So we have everything that they need for the year in that sense. So they can focus more on real instructional materials and those kinds of things in their own grade level budgets. Personnel to support kindergarten. One thing that we're finding, and when I say we, I think educational systems as a whole across the country, is a lot of our younger students are struggling. They're struggling with self-regulation. They're struggling with socialization. It's probably, up to the pandemic, they spent a lot of those times when they're with 2 years old, not getting to socialize, not going to school, not going to, parties and things like that with their friends. They had masks on. So we're seeing a lot of issues with that. So, in order that safe value kind of goal, what we're looking to do is we're finding that we need more help with these younger students. And we currently have one kindergarten para now who's on a grant position. I believe that grant continues next year as well, but we're really seeing a need to have more hands on deck for sure. And, they can not only help with the foundational social skills, but also those academic skills. And that'll kind of lead a little into what I'm talking about with the curriculum work at the bottom. The PE position, Mr. Hopkins kind of alluded to this. Just the need to try to, if there's a way that we can increase PE opportunities for students to get them PE maybe twice a week instead of once a week. And then as we were talking to this, we kind of came with the idea, perhaps the dean of students with some of the behavioral problems that we have at the elementary school that take up, can take up a good deal of mind time. And then finally, our curriculum work. So we are in the process of aligning with the middle school, high school. So we have a new curriculum guide that you have in the packets, our new curriculum templates and our cycle itself. And what we're looking at the site for our cycle is we're going to be starting with our PE and our writing. So right now we're in the year one of that. And that's about basically talking about doing the research and looking what's out there. And what we're finding is, there's a really big push now for this, what we call the science of reading. And if you're not familiar with it, it's based on 20 years of research on how students learn how to read. And it's funny, like this conversation came up, I believe, our first grade and kindergarten teachers were talking about a podcast, Told a Story. And it really started this push into learning more and more about the science of reading and how can we better make this, a reality in our schools. So, our K1 and 2 teachers right now are knee deep in it. They've all done about 10 hours of professional development each, learning about the science of reading and how they can implement it in their classrooms. We had some of our teachers went and looked at a model school that is, using the science of reading and the programs that they're using. Our language arts curriculum program supervisor has already reached out and she has samples of different curriculums and different programs that are out there. And the teachers are hungry for this information. They're hungry to start putting these practices into place. They're already asking, hey, can we crack open these books and start seeing if we can start adding some of this right now? So we're already seeing, the innovative approaches to the science of reading already being put in our classroom. And again, we're just in that year one phase. So we're really excited about the work that we have coming up when we get to actually start into the writing over years 2 and 3. And again, if you look at our cycle, then we're going to be starting with math the following year. So just a lot of exciting things going on, and we want to keep it going.
Yeah, but one comment, if there's any way to be innovative to have a foreign language for elementary school, I know we say that year after year, I might as well say it again. So throw it out there.
Do you want to give us a teacher? Absolutely. We'll take it.
Well, however you want to structure it.
Yeah.
So, but certainly if there's a way to absorb it, obviously with what you have
Yeah.
for staff, that'd be great. But I think it'd be great for the kids, obviously. So thanks.
We could. So, in terms of looking at the language offering, that's something that we could look into doing, a 0.4 or 0.5 type teacher for that. I know the district that I came from, they did have it at the elementary school at one time. They ended up losing it, but they did have Spanish for all the elementary kids. So it is a good program and it is definitely innovative, worth looking into.
I know Ronnie talked a lot about this too. I mean, did you see at your other district what the impact was? Were those kids much more ahead of the game going into, let's say, a Spanish class in 7th grade than they were if they didn't have it?
Yeah, and Miss Mullane was at a higher level, so she could probably attest to that more than I could. But definitely, as the students progressed through 5th grade, they had a really good grasp on Spanish. And
Okay.
It was impressive what they could do at the elementary level with it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I guess I would like to start with, I think one of the biggest changes that we are really experiencing at Wheeler that actually Ellen Turner came last month to talk about, the opportunities that we have now been able to provide to our students. I went to my first wrestling match the other day. I had no idea what to expect. I can't tell you. I think there was 11 matches that day and 9 of them were Wheeler students. So we are really growing. Had a game on Monday night against our rival Stonington. The gym was packed with over 400 people. And I can't even tell you the feel that is back in our gym. And I think a lot of it is because of the opportunities that we are now providing kids that it was almost dying. If you really think back to 9 years ago, we were barely fielding teams and now we are fielding so many opportunities for kids. So I just wanted to show you some of those highlights up there. Mike Ergo was actually player of, I don't know if you call him a player, swimmer, athlete of the year in his sport. There's a couple of pictures of one of our students wrestling. We have an amazing volleyball run this year, obviously for our traditional sports. We now have track. I think we have over 5 or 6 kids that are running track with Griswold. So I think it's brought a lot of that feel good hometown tradition back to our schools that we've been missing. So the biggest highlight for the Wheeler budget that you'll see is everything that we're doing is aligning to the vision of the graduate, like Troy talked about. Everything we're building, we're trying to innovate our actual program of studies. I think it starts with the courses we offer and trying to make it meaningful. What we're learning, our kids, it is no longer 94% of kids are going to college. That is a reality. It's just a fact. It's not just in North Stonington, it's happening everywhere. So our goal and our vision is to find that path for every student, no matter what it is. So I think a lot of the changes that you're going to hear me talk about kind of wrap themselves around that idea of, does everybody have a path that works for them within our school? So like Rob said, curriculum in our program of studies, obviously we are supporting that same alignment in math using the Desmos program, as well as STEM scopes in our middle school science program. So these are really hands-on NGS supported activities that kids are learning science and math in a very different way than they used to. Like Rob, our instructional supplies have been hit a lot, so we are trying to rebuild. So you will see that in my budget as well. But the biggest change I want to talk about is our course offerings and the expansion of what we're bringing to Wheeler. We're bringing back materials processing. We've been hearing it. We know there's a population of students that want woodworking. So working with the town, we are going to bring that back into the program of studies for next year. We actually are. If you didn't know this, we design all of our sets for the plays that we put on. So students are making costumes, they're building the scenery, they're creating those sets. So this is going to allow us back in the wood shop to do that. Our kids are so excited about it. So that's putting that back in the program of studies. We also continue to look at pathway opportunities. So currently we have 2 pathways in business and engineering. This year we have 7 students that are completing 60-hour internships in those areas. And talk about, internships were the big thing in college, right? Do your internships, figure out what you want to do. We're now putting kids in these opportunities in high school because we think it's equally important that they know what, if they are going to school, it's really nice to learn this is something I really enjoyed doing versus I really did not like this and not diving into a college career path thinking that was their plan. So we have kids all over the community right now doing different internships. We've added an education pathway. We're listening. Obviously, teacher shortage is a real issue. We have kids that want to go on this pathway. They want to be teachers. What better of a resource than the elementary school right next to us, our middle school, getting students in those classrooms earlier to see if teaching is a calling that maybe is for them. We also this year piloted a new work study program. We have 3 students who I can't say enough, didn't fit the traditional school model. Every single day was a battle to get them in school. Every single period, classroom, 88 minutes was a lot for these kids. So working with them through our guidance counselors, we supported their academics, but then we put them in the community in hands-on work study opportunities. We went through the state programming, we've developed this program, and it was life-changing for all 3 of these young men. I can't speak enough. We're looking to add more and more. We have a young lady who's come to me and asked me to do this. So I think this is going to be something that you're going to see grow bigger and bigger each year. I already spoke to athletics. the expansion of 9 co-op sports. This is huge. We're busing to Griswold. I feel like Griswold Wheeler is now like family. We do everything together now. But they're finding opportunities to give back to their school, to celebrate with their school. So that is a big increase in the budget that you'll see. And then last, our NEASC work. I can't say enough. I think it's awesome that we're going to collaborate with the elementary school. You know, I just want to stress the work's being done. It has been being done. It's just a matter of, is it in a consistent format where you can actually see it as opposed to going looking for it and finding it? We want to present it in a way that shows you the work that's being done. And I think this model is going to really do that for our district. And then the last piece, I know you guys gave this to us about 5 years ago. I just want to say thank you for the Naviance program, because it's not just designed for college students. It's designed for kids who are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives if they don't want to go to college. There are career interest inventories. There's so many different options. So I thank you for that. We're hoping to renew it because our 5 years is up. But I think it has done nothing but support all of our students and not just the college bound ones. I think we have, last year it was 54% going to college. So that number is not going to change. I don't think it changed anywhere in other districts. I think this is the new trend. So our budget is really trying to bring that innovation into whatever these kids want to do and give them those tools so that when they leave us, they're successful.
A quick question on the, obviously the phys ed was low and on as far as scores. Is that getting addressed through the co-op, or how, or is that not an issue with the middle school, high school?
About the, that's, those are the elementary scores.
Those the
So it's,
elementary
yeah,
scores?
4 and
Okay.
6, yeah, most grades. So that's why we're looking at trying to increase PE opportunities.
And ours weren't wonderful either. I mean, they've improved. We've built fitness into our program, so it has improved because we made those changes, and we're looking to continue to do that. Adding different courses to the PE department that have helped. They design every class now, starting with a fitness component. So I think you'll see our numbers weren't where we want them to be, but I think collectively, I think it'll be a great thing for our district.
And Mrs. Perkins is really, I mean, she's a fabulous PE teacher, and she's really taking the bull by the horns on this. You know, she has the students that they're doing their exercise every day. They're starting out with runs and everything, but it's 45 minutes for just once a week. It just isn't enough to make a huge impact on somebody's health in that sense.
Thank you. So student services, I talked last time we met about basically what it all encompasses, but it's special ed students, 504 nurses, English language learners, homeless students, and all of related services. So this budget, as I talked about last time, we see an increased need for counseling and behavioral support services. This budget has an additional social worker. Right now, we have one social worker in the district who works, oversees helping 755 students. That's just not manageable, not manageable. She sees 80 students on a weekly basis. 41 of those students have plans where she has to address specific goals and objectives. So it's just not manageable. If we're asking her to do something that just time-wise is impossible. So that additional social worker will be really, really valuable. The additional special ed teacher and additional paraprofessional would be for that alternative ed program that I talked about. And big thing, if you look on the chart there and you see the line, that first bar graph line is North Stonington pay scale for our paraprofessionals. They max out at $1,550. And when you compare what we pay to what other districts pay, it's not comparable. We're significantly lower. And our paraprofessionals are doing, like I said, there are frontline workers. They're doing a very, very important job. We want to keep the good ones that we have in the district. We don't want them, actually don't even want to put the names of the towns up there for them to see. So you can flip this slide quickly. Because we really don't want them to leave and go somewhere else. Thank you. But yeah, so really it's the additional social worker and special ed teacher and paraprofessional. And when you look at the total of all of the line items that are attributed to special education, it accounts for 17% of the total budget. 24% of the students qualify as special ed or 504 students. One para who's assigned there. We may have students who would go to that program who would have a one-to-one para assigned to them. So I would anticipate more, but those are pairs that we probably already have employed in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the admins, quick questions for the admins before we move forward?
I just have one. Rob, you briefly mentioned, and I don't know if we're gonna address this later, in addition of a dean of students along with a PE teacher. So when we were reworking the position that Allison is currently in, we looked at that as the special education director with associate principal duties, because for a long time, it seemed as though the elementary school principal really needed someone extra.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit, and Allison, please feel free to weigh in. Yeah.
It's impossible to do both jobs. And part of that is the new system, the CT says system has required a significant amount of time. The woman who was in the position before me was here for, over 20 years. So she knew the families and she knew the system well. So I'm coming in and learning. I just can't be at the elementary school.
So it looked
doing
good on
that.
paper, but in practice.
It looked
it's
good on
not.
paper, but it was not a workable model at all. And so the dean position it's a part-time PE, part-time dean, not two positions.
Right.
And that's what. So that was kind of how the conversation came out, was if, we were talking, originally started about a second PE teacher to just give the kids an extra opportunity for PE. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't need a full-time teacher for that. It would be a part-time person. So then the conversation came up maybe about someone who could take, half-time dean responsibilities as well. So that's kind of where that grew out of. But I think, key what we're looking at is if we can increase PE opportunities for the kids, that's the big thing that we're looking for.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Can I just add, I don't think we were ready for the changes that came after the pandemic with students and what we're seeing with their mental health. And I think that's also a piece of this, like being able to service all of our students when they need it, as opposed to, I have 45 minutes, like it's impossible to do. So I think it ties in also with the whole social worker piece.
Thank you.
And it's innovative idea and efficient way of handling a few situations, a few problems, really. You can see that our administrators are very knowledgeable and competent and really nice people. And you can see why I enjoy working with them so much. So I appreciate their contributions to this budget presentation as well. So this next slide, it tells you that we're not declining in enrollment. Okay, we're really quite stable. Now the red dot, okay, is North Stonington students. Okay, right across. And then above that, you have a line that includes our tuition students from out of town. So when you include the tuition students, you can see the numbers actually get up quite high. So we have a lot of students. Okay, we're looking to have, 785-ish students next year, with the additional 9 tuition students that we are predicting that will come in and join our already 18. So we probably will have 25 tuition students, and we just raised the cost of that. And I'll be talking about that later, and that money goes to the town, right? So just keep that in mind. So overall, our enrollment is stable. All right, let's go next slide. Now, there's several budget challenges that we have this year. And they're not bad things. They're just things you really have to consider when talking about the budget. We do have a new teacher contract that goes into effect for next school year. Okay. And they got less than the state average. Okay. However, they still got a bump in pay that we have to pay for. Okay, that's significant because a lot of our budget is salaries, right? Now, we also are currently under negotiations with the paraprofessional and custodian union, custodian maintenance union, and we don't know yet what the impact on that's going to be. Okay, but you might see when you look through the chart of the budget, you'll see a great increase in the negotiations line. Okay, because that includes any possible increases and legal fees as well in that line. Okay, so we did not put any increases in the actual para or custodian salary line because we don't know what they're going to be. Okay, because we're under negotiations. So that's another consideration. Some things cost more, right? I'm really thankful Bill figured out that we're saving money on with the solar panels. And luckily, our medical in terms of benefits, okay, pretty stable. We're very lucky because some districts are going up. We have the benefit of being involved in a consortium that provides us a buffer if we need it. But we're really lucky to have that this year because we have other things going up. As some of the administrators said, we do have increased social, emotional, and behavioral needs of students. We have to consider that. We have to weigh that in, right? Because that's going to improve the learning for all kids when we meet the needs of the kids that have these needs, right? And you don't know. Some kid could have these, all of a sudden have a real emotional need and they didn't before. And we need to be able to respond successfully and help that child. And yes, yeah, physical fitness offered only once a week. Most elementary schools, it's 2-3 times a week. Okay, and I think the scores are evidence of the fact that we need to do better. Somehow we need to do better. And I think we're trying to be innovative and efficient in doing better. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a quick question on the social emotional needs? Is there a percentage of the out of district students that also take advantage of that, or is that strictly the town students? So, but that's, I think it should be said. As long as it's got, it needs to be highlighted. Okay.
Okay, so no one looked yet, right? Everybody's exhibiting self-control. All right, because we're gonna play a little game here. Okay, and if you looked, you gotta like disqualify yourself. Okay, these are the major drivers of the budget. These are the things that make up the budget, and they're in order, starting with the highest with salaries. Then I go to benefits, transportation. Let me give you some numbers to go with these numbers. You might want to take notes. This will help you with the game. So salaries is going to be up 8%. So when you eventually do look at the budget chart in the back of the narrative, and I know you haven't, you'll see that salaries go up 8%. Yep, that good question. That is with the new positions. Yep. That's with the PE/dean of students, the special educator, 3 paraprofessionals. And that is with the curriculum coordinator for 15,000. Oh, social worker. Yeah. Those were not in order of priority in which I at all. Okay, all the positions. Maybe I missed a few. I don't know. Benefits went up 0.1%. What a bargain. Transportation up 7.7. Facilities down 1.8. Facilities, repairs, utilities down 1.8. Supplies. Notice that the numbers are going down dramatically in terms of the overall dollar amounts, right? Salaries and benefits really big, transportation less, facilities, supplies under $500,000, right? Up 19.2%. 19.2%. Purchase services up 32.4%. don't worry, right? It's just a percent. Look at the overall number, right? You'll see it when you look at the chart. Tuition down 5.5%. That's where we pay for tuition for kids going to other places like magnet schools and outplacements. And that negative 5.5. And then dues and fees up 7.2. Yes, your CABE membership went up. And a few other memberships. I'm.
Can I have a quick question?
Yeah.
The transportation, that includes special education transportation, correct? Because we have a contract on transportation for regular ed. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so here. Right. Here. Okay. Okay, so here's the game part. Yeah, so you're gonna put a number underneath this slide. You're gonna guess what the overall budget increase is based on what I just told you. Okay, without calculating it, just so you're estimating. It's a skill that we teach kids, estimation, and want to see, who gets closest. Oh, there's a ton, right? And you gotta look at it, the overall amount, Where do you think we're at? We're just scratch it down. But you got the second biggest item there, benefits. It's only 0.1, right? All right, so just guess, write it down, and we'll go to the next slide, and we'll come back to that later. We're just building a little suspense. Okay, so you see that in the middle here, the pie graph. Most of that pie is fixed costs. Okay, 96.4%. 3.6 we can call discretionary, but it's not really discretion. We actually need it. Okay, we actually need that little slice of the pie that we're calling discretionary, because that's all of our supplies and our PD. And we need that. So there's really nowhere good to cut from this budget presented to you tonight. And on the other side, you can see, we have all these fixed costs. We have contracts, right, for salaries. Okay, we have to pay according to the contract that was negotiated, right? The benefits, we're lucky. I mean, they're fixed, but they're not going up much, right? 0.1%. So let's go to the next slide. And just to remind you about some of the things we're looking for, and we're going to see these again on another slide, so we don't really have to stay on this one too long. You'll see them all again. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is really significant here. I said that we're collaborating with the town. Okay, I believe we truly are. Let me explain. You have this non-lapsing account, right? And let's just go to the next slide for a moment. Because on here, we have items on the left that are things that you already voted for and we purchased. And then the next two columns are things that maybe you'll consider in the future using non-lapsing funds for. And I know there was some recent discussion about, does the school pay, the Board of Ed pay, or does the town pay for repairs on the roof and other exterior needs? Like, we want to build a maintenance shed, right? Who pays for that? You could make the argument that the town should pay for that if they own the buildings, right? And they own that. But we could say as a board, hey, we're getting quotes right now, by the way, for that. You could say, don't worry, we have the money in non-lapsing, and we're going to spend it wisely on some of these things that are not in the Board of Ed budget, and they don't have to be in the town budget either, because we have this money. That's collaboration with the town. Okay, so that's one area of collaboration with the town is non-lapsing, and I think it's significant. Let's go back to the previous slide for a moment. And tuition revenue with the town. I mean, to the town, right? We just talked about that. We are planning to generate $190,000 in additional revenue to the town for tuition. Over 300,000 total. Okay, but the increase is about $190,000. Okay. Yeah, over 300 total, but just the increase, because we're talking about our budget increase, right? So later, I'm going to credit us that $190,000. Okay, and we're going to look at the net increase to the town and the taxpayer. Okay, because that's the reality of it. Because they're getting all this revenue because we're working really hard at, have a really quality program and bring these kids in.
Just to get back on the previous chart right before that on the essential improvements, do we have job descriptions for all the new positions? We talked about the curriculum coordinator, and I don't think we ever saw anything. So-
Yeah, I did give you something last meeting. I didn't really talk about it much, but it was a handout. You had,
It was a regular job description.
it was a draft job description. And actually what was handed out tonight has some detail about the job as well. So
Same with the dean of students. You have a job description for that?
we don't have that handy, but we would obviously produce that. So the third area of collaboration with the town, we had non-lapsing, we have tuition revenue, and then we have use of space. Okay, so we share this space. Bob Carlson, first selectman, has been really helpful in letting us use a few additional spaces in this building that weren't designated for us to use, right? For the giving closet, the clothing that goes to town residents that need it. So yes, it's helping us out, but it's also helping the town out, right? It's collaboration, right? The wood shop that we're hoping to restore and get functioning again. Possibly there could be some adult education courses in the evenings in that collaboration with the town, sharing spaces, right? So the use of space, I think, is really important. This whole central office is in this building, right? And we're really happy and appreciative of the collaboration of the town and regarding the use of space and the great working relationship we have. And when we say we have a need and they could fulfill it, they do. And that's great. But I think there can be a cost savings there because we don't have find another place to do it, and crowd like across the street somewhere to store like the food pantry or the extra athletic supplies and equipment that we have over here and the drama sets that we have over here. So, I think you could make the argument there's cost savings in sharing spaces. And the last area in terms of, and if we can go 2 more slides. I think the fact that we have tried to be efficient and do some things with less, cut back costs, is collaboration with the town. Because we don't have to ask for money to pay for Kelly services in our budget because we figured out how to get our own subs this year and we canceled Kelly services. Okay, we canceled Learn Technology Support and we're getting the job done with our own people. We just restructured a little bit and we're being efficient. Okay, so we don't have to ask the town for the money to pay for Learn for technology support. We absorbed the grounds position into our maintenance positions and facilities. And honestly, we don't know long-term how that's going to go. We got to monitor that and see. We may come back and say, you know what, we really need a grounds position back. That could happen, but we have a plan and we're going to try it and we believe it can work. But time will tell. Teacher evaluation software. We're not paying ProTrack's evaluation software anymore because our administrators and teacher leaders were innovative and said, hey, we got Google. Let's use Google. So they're using Google and it's working great. In fact, their own evaluations are on Google because they show me how to do it. I have my own Google Classroom. and ask some students. And it, you know, it's not free. We have a Google account, okay, but it's a bargain, and we upgraded it, by the way, this year, okay, to add more options for people. Yeah, and Bill talked about it, utilization of technology in the central office, right? Infinite visions. Well, there's Applitrax too. Irma's done so much work with Applitrax that people can go and apply for jobs in North Stonington using the software, and we could get their resume and their references and all that. And we're still developing it because there's more that it can do. So we're being efficient with what we have. And I think that is a fourth area of collaboration with the town. Let's go to the next slide.
Any chance you had a dollar value to that slide?
I don't have a dollar value to the start of the slide. Some of the things are quite variable, like Kelly Services, because they take a cut out of every single daily sub. We paid like $180 a day, and the sub only got 125, and Kelly Services got the rest. That's about what it was. But depending on how many subs you have throughout the year, it depends on how much you pay Kelly Services. So some of these things are kind of variable. Now, remember, we also did the Kerma safety audit for free, right? Remember, we were talking about paying for someone to do it. And we decided, hey, you know what? We can get this job done for free. And we did. That's efficiency, right? And that saves money.
Like the grounds was about $60,000. I was just interested.
Yeah.
Is it $100,000?
Altogether? Probably. I would say there's probably about $100,000 altogether.
I think it's.
You think so, Allison?
But I think it's.
Approximately.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a good selling.
I think that's a good estimate. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so I like this slide a lot. I get this document from CAPS, Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents, and it's a spreadsheet they send out every week, and they say like has all the towns, and it's like, here's the superintendent's budget that was proposed, and then here's the adopted budget from last year, and they give you that data, so it's great. So I just looked and I'm like, what towns around us have come out with a superintendent's budget already? And we picked those towns, and here they are, right? East Lyme, Stonington, and Waterford. And look, we're North Stonington right over here. And so East Lyme initially came out with 6.97, and then Stonington came out with 8.22, and Waterford came out with 5.99. And here's your answer. The superintendent's budget is 6.7 for this year. Okay, we're going to talk about that more. But we added underneath the bar what the adopted budgets were last year. And if you look at it, we are below all these area towns and what we're asking for a budget over 2 years. They're what they got last year, then what they're asking for now. Now, we don't know what they're really going to get this year. Okay, we know we're going to get 6.7 because we're being optimistic. Right? And it's not as bad as 6.7. Okay. And I'm going to show you that in a little bit. All right, let's go to the next slide. Budget. Yeah, we're getting there. So history of budget increases. The last 10 years, including this next year, when you're going to approve 6.7, okay? That's the 10th year. That is the 10th year. It would average only 2.04, right? Look at the budget increases for the last 4 years. They're pretty low, right? There was a pump in 18, 19, a little pump, almost 5%. And then the 4 years before that were really low. So if you look at the pattern, it's 4 years are really low, then a bump, 4 years a little low, and 6.7 bump. It's time for a bump. We're going to bump it up. And we're going to be happy to do it. Because it's a real value. Let's go to the next slide. If you thought we were administrative top heavy, or anybody thought that, we're not. These are the same towns that we compared test scores to earlier. And figured, well, they're similar enrollment. Let's compare administrative cost, just in case you thought we're top heavy, we're not. So if you look at the very bottom, and some of these were some of them are the real numbers, some were estimated based on the current year and adding 3%, which we think was pretty reasonable. Towns often do that. So, but look at the bottom. We're lower. We're lower than these towns that we outscored academically. Yeah.
Sure, that given on that one category, you have high school assistant principal / dean of students, and we're talking about adding in an elementary school. It's not an assistant principal, but there'll be a portion of that that's dean of students. Perhaps we should add a number
You're right.
into that line.
Good catch.
For sure.
Right,
But
that's true.
I think we probably, if we're looking at it like that, so that we could compare apples to apples.
Right.
Given that it says dean of students.
Right,
You know,
right.
maybe we
Okay.
can pull the.
right. So
Right, an assistant principal. Sure, I'm looking at it less about contract and more about position. So we are gonna have, per your proposal.
so
this
if you
person. So I
if
wonder
you wanted to
we should-
consider that, you would
just
take
for-
half the
just for
teacher pay and add
chart's
it.
sake,
Just take half the teacher pay and add it.
I think that would provide a more
Yeah.
accurate and transparent picture at what we're looking to do here in North Stonington.
And we'd still be lower than these other towns, right? Would still be lower.
Let's finish the
All right, this
presentation.
question-
Can we finish the presentation before we start getting into
Yeah.
deep discussion? I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, okay. So let's go to the next slide. So so these are really what we're looking for additions to what we call the status quo budget. Okay, now the status quo budget is 4.8%. So if you don't want to add any of these things, we're at 4.8%. We add all of these things, we're at 6.7%, the superintendent's budget. Okay, these are the things that we made arguments for throughout this presentation. We need these things. The kids need these things. This is a time to add these things because we're saving on health insurance. Well, not saving, it's just not going up. Okay, but in this time of inflation, this is a real good value. So let's, you have this slide, right? So you can study it and all that, but let's go to the next one and finish this presentation. I know, Rob, I knew that he was quite proud of this event, so I wanted him to be surprised. Yeah, it's an awesome photo. I mean, it really is. I mean, I was there live and I witnessed this event. It was tremendous. The cheering of the children and the teachers. It was just like really kind of like feel good moment, you know? And Rob is a better principal than I ever was because I never kissed a farm animal. You know, for the children. I would do a lot for them, but I don't, I'm glad I'm not principal anymore because this is out of my lane, by the way. This is not in a superintendent lane. Yeah, I'm not allowed. It's none of my, none of my job description. Unless you guys tried to put it there. All right, so this is great. We got a great school, right? The kids are learning. They're excited to come to school. They got small class size, individual instruction. We got really high quality teachers that are working with the kids. And we want to keep all this stuff, right? When we have, when you have staff though, that are overwhelmed because they can't, their job that we're asking them to do is not sustainable. Eventually they'll go somewhere else. So when some of the things we're asking for is to prevent that. We want to keep a good situation going and improve it. Okay. And we're not going to improve it unless we add the things that we're asking to add. We're not going to do it. So let's go to the last slide. I believe it's the last one. And this is the bottom line. I told you our status quo budget, not adding those things, is 4.8. I'm telling you, though, we need 6.7 because we want to improve. We're generating $190,000 extra revenue right to the town. That's 1.3% of the 6.7. So when you subtract the superintendent's budget of 6.7, or you subtract the 1.3 from the 6.7, you get a net increase to the town of 5.4%, which is just 0.6% higher than our status quo budget of 4.8. Status quo, we don't get any of that stuff that we want to improve the school system. Okay. Status quo just prevents us from cutting. We got things to pay for, new teacher's contract, para contract we're going to have, all of this stuff, increased cost. Okay, we compared other towns and what they're asking for a budget. We've been very efficient in putting this budget together. We've been innovative. We're still meeting the needs of the kids. For just 0.6% higher than status quo, you can get all that other stuff we presented. This is a bargain you cannot afford not to buy.
Can
You
I?
like Dunkin'? You
Don't.
go to Dunkin' sometimes? You go to
Sometimes.
drive-through, very convenient. Let me just put it this way. This is just an estimate. I looked up quickly. I think there's about 1,982 households in this town. I may be off a little bit. That's like last year's numbers. If you take the overall increase and divide it by 1982, and by the way, this is not even a great comparison because the revenue to the town comes from other places besides just the households. But if it just came from households and the households were taking all of this increase we're asking for on themselves, and we weren't looking at the tax revenue from the businesses in town. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you get medium or large or small typically when you go to Dunkin'? Coffee, hot coffee,
Small.
small?
Would you rather I get a medium?
I would rather you get the medium.
Okay, I'll get a medium.
Yeah, okay. All right, good. All right. So a medium coffee at Dunkin' is like $2.49, right? There might be some tax on it. We'll just go with $2.49, okay? Because that's what it said when I looked it up. Is it $2.69?
Well, why didn't you tell him what you got?
Let's go with $2.49 because I don't have time to do any recalculation right now. All right, so if you went to Dunkin', every household went to Dunkin' every day and they bought a medium coffee, $2.49, right? Every day. They just do it every day. 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Go get you Dunkin' coffee. Medium coffee at Dunkin', 1 coffee per household, 7 days a week. Let's get you off caffeine a little bit. Okay. And cut it back to 4 days a week. You cut it back to 4 days a week and you just invested really wisely in your public schools. It's $1.10 per household per day. Okay, it's not that big of a deal to the taxpayer. And it's even less because we're not figuring out revenue. We're not figuring in the revenue from the businesses in town. We're not asking for a lot. It's totally worth it. I think our kids have the needs that we need to meet, and we gave you a real efficient, transparent, and effective way to meet those needs. And I think you need to buy it because you can't afford not to. I'm done. Thanks.
I have
Questions?
one quick question. On your very last slide, I would like to see the full amount that we're generating in tuition, not just the increase.
Okay.
Because that amount we received last year was last year, we'll get it again this year. And so I think we need to show the impact of the entire amount of tuition.
Okay, we can add that.
Are we proposing it as a 5.4?
Nope,
Why?
we're not
We can't do that
proposing
with the
anything
revenue?
right now.
Yeah, we're proposing 6.7. I'm proposing 6.7,
We
which
can't,
is a net increase of 5.4 to the town. You can make that argument because of the tuition.
we can't,
Big
put
bold print.
we can't use the tuition in our budget, but we can definitely show what the impact of that tuition is on the increase.
Some of the budget additions, you could use non-lapsing like the innovative PD. So there is some opportunities, I think. If woodshop supplies is a one-off to kind of get you going, I would argue that would be appropriate. That's not a lot of money, but co-op supplies, if that's a one-off, then it's an opportunity. But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just-
if you guys decide to spend on lapsing on that would work and that would lower it a bit.
as long as it's not recurring, that's all.
What's that?
As long as it's not recurring, then.
And your projections for tuition students for next year, how confident are you that it's only gonna be 8 or 9? Could it go higher than that?
It could go higher than that. There are people that come over the summer. You had 4 last year, right? That did that?
So,
Now where people are starting at another school and then saying, can we come back here? So we get that happening too.
right,
So.
Does that come back right? We don't know that. If it comes back right away, the money, it doesn't matter though. It goes to the town. Yeah, that makes difference. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And even a student-
So at this point, what I would propose we do is if you guys have some general questions that we ask them, but now we take this budget and we digest it for the next couple of weeks. And then we're going to come back to the table in 2 weeks and start looking at more in-depth questions. Certainly, if you have any other questions, I would ask that you send them to me and I will forward them to Troy.
Definitely like to see job descriptions on some of the new positions that we're proposing. So have a good, clear understanding what the responsibilities are. I see at least 3, I think, from what I gather.
Troy, I just have some general feedback and of course, this is my own and not representative of the board. First of all, I want to congratulate you on putting together your first budget. You did a great job. It looks beautiful. The budget that you guys have put together is it's kind of inspirational when you think about it. We're a really tiny town, we're a really little school, and you do amazing things. And I don't think you're asking for things that are crazy. So with that being said, there are some things in the presentation that concern me, being a resident here for a bit and living through some of these cycles, and also having the opportunity to speak to people that think differently than I think, and are in different pockets of the community. So the first thing that I get concerned about is when we talk about discretionary versus fixed.
Okay.
That's a very clear thing. And discretionary, it's true, right? We have a teacher's contract,
Right.
right? We can't change that. We can't change the cost of our benefits, that sort of stuff. But the reality is they're not always fixed, right? Because this is what people begin to say. And this is why I like to, if we can make changes in the language that we use when we talk about it, I think this is a great time. People will say, and they're true, they're not fixed. We don't need to have that number of staff. We
Right.
don't need to offer that amount of sports.
I see.
there are things that we can do. Those aren't fixed. And so I don't want
see.
people to feel like they're being sold
Yeah.
or misled.
Sure.
Because I think that that's when people who will have sticker shock. I have a little bit of sticker shock at 6.7 for sure. But people that have sticker shock, I believe, can stop listening. I think that it's important to remember that the impact on the taxpayer is
Mhm.
much larger than just our budget, right? So there's
Oh,
still
yeah.
the town budget.
Sure.
And while
Sure.
we can talk about our tuition money and how great it is, and we're going to claim or what they want to claim, the fact is that the impact on the taxpayer will remain the same because it's all coming out of their pocket. So regardless of whether it's on this side of the ledger or that side of the
Yeah.
ledger, same tax bill, right? And so I think that when we talk about what a bargain it is, I get a little nervous that
Yeah.
people might have a response to that.
Okay.
If you look at the grand list, you will see that the revenue to the town is overwhelmingly generated by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
We have very little revenue from business in town. And that is why I think that when we talk about this, like it really is, this is coming from people. It's not coming from a business. So with that being said, you have no idea about this. The Dunkin' Donuts comparison was used years ago to describe the impact of building our new school.
Okay.
That was something that was not well received and I hear about to this day. And the reason why is because I think, you know what, there are people that go to Dunkin' Donuts way more than they care to admit during the week. And then there are people that don't. And I never want to talk to people about my assumption of what's a big deal for them and what's not. That makes me uncomfortable. Not everybody is in a position to get a medium
Right.
coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
Sure.
And I don't ever want people to feel like as a board, we don't believe that a 6.7% budget isn't a big deal because it is. No matter how great it is, it's a big deal. So just those are sort of my initial sort of takeaways on the presentation. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your feedback and certainly the presentation to the Board of Finance will not be this presentation. Okay, this was more of a kind of fun presentation, like let's, express our needs to you and all that, but it certainly have a more serious tone. And I appreciate the feedback on the language and what will go over well with the town and what will not. I would definitely not talk about Duncan. Thank you.
Thanks, Troy. It was really easy to understand and understanding the work that you guys put into it, and I can see what your needs are. And what's really nice is that I've been following these budgets in other towns. These increases in other towns are with cuts. So we're in really good shape. And I think that message will come out loud and clear. Health insurance at the state level is going up 10% on average. So we've done some really good work here, and I'm really excited to see if we can get all of these initiatives put in, and just really appreciate everything you've done. And I'm excited to look at the numbers. It's easy to understand. I don't have to go through 47 pages. So thank you, Bill, for that.
We were going for simplicity.
Appreciate that.
Simplicity. And yeah, Bill did a ton of work on that.
Does anybody else have any general questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question about the elementary school physical education teacher. I'm trying to understand the need for a second one. Is it not possible to have multiple days during the week for phys ed? I don't know what's,
so with this purpose now, her schedule is pretty full. And she's also doing health with every grade level once a month. So she wouldn't be able to carry a full, giving everybody an extra PE again, not as a one full-time teacher. They would need at least, I mean, I'd have to look at, but at least like a 0.4 or 0.5 to pull that off.
Thank you.
Yep.
On the same piece, I had asked this earlier. I just wasn't certain. Are we looking for an 092 with that person coming in to be the dean of students, or we're looking at that's going to be strictly a non-administrative,
Yeah.
discipline-based?
It'd be non-administrative, just, yeah, basically just handling minor behavior referrals and stuff. That's it. So they wouldn't need an 092 for that.
Does anybody else have any questions? I just have a general question on the phys ed piece. I get the need for the teacher, but social and emotional learning is so tied to physical activity. They just go together. These kids need to be active. What can we do in the classroom or during the day to give them that besides just a recess, but maybe something that's a little more focused on making sure they're getting the right kind of activity?
Yeah, so a lot of the teachers, they do movement breaks throughout the day, especially at the lower level with the younger kids too. So it's very common that you'll see before mass starts, the kids are doing like a 5-minute movement break. But what we're thinking about here is even with the recess, we try to encourage the kids to take a lap around that beautiful track that we have too before recess starts. But for those physical fitness tests, they're very specific tests in terms of being able to run the pacer for certain amounts of time and doing so many push-ups and your sit-ups and everything else. So like Miss Perkins now is starting her PE classes, doing like those kinds of exercises with the kids, getting them used to that and kind of building up that muscle and that stamina. It would just be more beneficial for them if they had an extra dose of that during the week. But we do absolutely, get the kids out moving, especially when the weather's nice. You'll see it oftentimes in the spring and stuff. They'll be out at the end of the day and moving around. We try to get them moving as much as we can, but.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other discussion? Troy, did you have anything else you wanted to add right now before we start taking a deep dive on this?
No, I'm all set.
Okay.
Other than I like your input of taking a look at that, do a deep dive, and we can ask questions later. We could also take questions by email before the next meeting to me directly, and then I will disseminate them to whoever can answer the question best
Okay.
and get we can come with the answers.
Yep.
That way we're not trying to come up with answers on the spot.
Yeah, and feel free to send the answers out through email as well.
Okay.
That's fine. If you-
Perfect.
If you come up with the answers, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. This is going to be really fantastic to work with. I'm really excited to share this with the Board of Finance. It's hard not to get excited about what we're doing over here. So I really do appreciate it. I just need to find my agenda. Here we go. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
All right, so next up on the agenda itself, under 7A, it says 5131.912 bullying prevention and intervention policy. This was brought up originally because at our G1 committee meeting, when we had been looking at it, the policy was outdated, the language was outdated, and we were amazed that it was still in there. And apparently the way that the policy was actually written was an outdated policy, because last fall it was voted on that it was supposed to be replaced, but it did not go up onto the CABE website. So originally the thought was to speak on that bullying policy for the idea of trying to adopt the newer CABE version, but instead we already adopted a new version back in the fall. Well, some of us were not.
2021.
In 2021. Sorry, yeah. So
Yeah.
not this past fall, the fall previous. And so because of that, that's basically a moot point. It's been done. We've already approved it. It's now up. It will be good, and that's settled.
Great.
That being said, I added a couple of things onto the agenda at the beginning. I swear I will make this super, super fast. I know the email did go out to everybody, yes, where it had the rundown on these. I think there's a couple of these that are really straightforward. I'm going to start off with the first read ones though, and just say that these are ones for you all to take a look at and come back to our next meeting with an idea of, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if there's things that you don't understand on that. The first one is the 5144.4. I'm giving it out as that Lisa and I had looked at this, and we're putting it forth as a first read specifically because in the policy, it states that there's a minimum amount of time that you are allowed to use discipline by taking away recess or physical activity time. they give a minimum, but we can actually change that policy to say, no, we don't ever want that to be the case. And I guess I just wanted to put that up for consideration to the board, because if the board preferred to have a mentality of no, we should never be taking recess time away from students as discipline or punishment, that would be a different set of wording. We can change it in that direction. We can't make it so that it's okay to keep a kid in more, but we can make it so that it's not okay to ever keep a kid in, or that it's only okay to keep them in 5 minutes or something similar. So I just wanted to make sure, when Lisa and I had talked about it, we wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to look at it, decide if as a board, we wanted to ever allow that to take place, perhaps get input from Rob. It's mostly an elementary school process, and be able to look through that. But that is one that we need to change based on new law, and therefore it has to be updated. The other first read that we have is 5145.53, which is the transgender and gender nonconforming youth policy. Again, it's something that I think that we need to look at it as a board. Lisa and I both thought that this was a worthwhile policy to look at. Local districts are also currently looking at and adopting this as a proactive policy. It is a way that we are able to have on the books a specific way that we will be handling situations that might arise. But again, it's something that we think needs to be read by the board, come back with any questions, and then take action on it at that time. So those are our two first reads. The other ones I'm kind of hoping that perhaps we can just go ahead and take care of. First off, 5141.8 and 4118.237. This is already a policy we removed that required masking in school. However, we removed the one version of it that was under our general policy piece, and then it was repeated under staff for your non-certified staff, then it was repeated under students for student piece of, and so we didn't hit the repetitive pieces of it. It's the exact same policy we removed back in the early spring, I guess it would have been, of last year. But I guess I would propose, I guess I can propose, I would move to delete 5141.8 and 4118.237 as being repetitive based on previous deletions.
Second,
Any discussion?
no. Any
Sorry, I
discussion?
should ask that.
That's all right. Yeah. Any other discussion? All right. I mean, it's masking. It's a moot point at this point. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And abstain. It's passed.
All right. We also have 5145.511. It's to me and Lisa, when we were looking at it, it seemed like a very straightforward language change. It's based on the idea, it's a sexual harassment policy update from CABE. And so it's based on the fact that there were new laws put into play last year. We need to update our policy simply to match the new mandated policy in play. So
All right. I move to approve 5145.511.
I second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
all right. And last but not least, we talked about 0523. I believe I brought this up at the last meeting, our G1.
6140.
6140 is repetitive. I didn't put that in this though, did I?
You said it earlier.
I said it earlier, and I have it written down saying that we have dual policies and we need to choose one and vote, but I don't have that one. I didn't send that out to you.
Okay.
So I removed the 6140. I apologize. I had that as a note to myself. We still need to look at that.
Okay. That's it.
But the 0523, did I not say that one?
No,
All right, if I didn't add it, I guess, can I not
you
speak
can
to
add it now. No, you can speak to it. It's under
Okay.
policy first reads.
It's equity and diversity. I talked about it last week at our last meeting regarding the G1 aspect. And all it was we had looked at the it's currently labeled equity and diversity. And I think that we had talked about it as being a good thing to change it to diversity, equity, and inclusion. with the letters DEI as an acronym, so that if people need to search it, that's the modern language that's being used, and we want to make sure that people can quickly find that. And also in that same policy, in section B sub 6, it says welcomed, valued, and supported. And just to match our G1 goal, change that language to safe, valued, and a sense of belonging, because it has the same message. It just more directly matches our goal.
I move to adopt the new language under 0523 and including the safe, value, and supported under B6.
I second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstain. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chet, the only thing I'm going to ask is that you recap that and send that to Irma. And then maybe we put some kind of system in place that we double check to make sure they're updated, maybe and give her a few weeks to do that. So maybe we do like a 2-week check or something.
Well, these are all the ones that are on.
Right, but I don't, all right, well, we thought things were happening before too. I'm not saying it's that you, Irma, but sometimes if.
Oh, no, you just said recap.
No, the recap's fine, but make sure that we're just following up on our uploads. Because when I went back through my minutes and stuff, it was like, what did we even do here? So we'll try to figure it out.
Can I say something about the first read for the transgender policy?
Sure.
I just wanted to point out that that the transgender and non-conforming youth policy is a recommended good practice policy by CABE. It's CABE recommended as a good practice. It's a policy lacking in our manual.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment this evening? Did you see me online? All right, thanks. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, well,
Are we not allowed to do that? Sorry.
no, not just, so we're going to strike personnel. All right, and then, yeah, we can move to adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you.